trying to get your cocktails, go ahead and finish up. But good evening. I really want to thank you all for coming out this evening. I am Brianna Rogers, the National Member Events Director here at the Gathering Spot. So let's just give you all a round of applause for showing up on a Monday evening. So tonight, this event is a part of True Colors Theater's company Community Conversation Series, which is proudly sponsored by Brian Cave, Leighton Paisner. The special conversation is also presented in partnership with the Gathering Spot and the Alliance Theater. Tonight's event is a conversation with True Colors' own founder, Kenny Leon, and artistic director, Jamil Jude. So you all, we are in for a treat this evening. Before we begin, we'll let you guys get your cocktails, but we have an amazing performance by Atlanta's own Miss Maisha McQueen, accompanied by Hope McCarley. So let's give her and him a round of applause. And I hope you all enjoy this evening. Thank you again for coming out tonight.
Good evening. Oh, this is so weird. I see everybody's smiles. I'm really excited about it. I was just talking to Kenny, and we were reminiscing my first show, equity show, union show. He cast me in a show called Chasing Them Blues. And this is one of the songs that I sang in the show. I hate to see that evening sun go down. Hate to see that evening sun go down, 'cause the man I love, he done left this town. If I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today, I'm gonna pack my bags and make my getaway. If I'm feeling tomorrow like I feel today, oh, I'm gonna pack my bags and make my getaway. St. Louis woman with her diamond rings, you know, she pulls my man around with her apron strings. If it wasn't for powder and her stout-bought hair, you know, the man that I love, he wouldn't go nowhere. Nowhere. I got the St. Louis blues, just as blue as I can be. Oh, my man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Oh, else he wouldn't have gone so far away from me. Oh, I went to the fortune teller and had my fortune told. Oh, fortune told. You know what she told me? She told me you wouldn't have left me if I hadn't had this sweet jelly roll. me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Kenny.
All right, y'all. How y'all doing? Oh man, y'all. My name is Jamil Jude. I got the best job in the American theater because I'm the artistic director here at True Colors Theater Company. And just on behalf of everybody on stage, I just want to say welcome, y'all. Thank y'all for coming out. You know, like Maisha said, it's so good to see faces. So I don't want to take this for granted. I'm gonna look at everybody's face. Excuse the eye contact, the direct eye contact for a little bit. I just haven't seen it in a long time, y'all. But thank you. Thank you so very much for being here. We're gonna get right to it, man. I'm gonna waste no time in calling up the man of the hour, Mr. Kenny Leon, founding artistic director of Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company, sir.
Hey, Camille Love. Woo! It is so good. It is so good to be home. You know, for the last 25 years, probably, I have called Atlanta home, but 80% of the time, I'm New York or LA or somewhere. And this is the first time in 20 years I've been back. I'm doing Trading Places, the musical, at the Woodruff Art Center. And, you know, it's a commercial production, so it's happening here first. And then it would be in New York and the UK. But what I've been telling people is, let's make New York come down here. New York travel down here to see this play here. But anyway, it is great to be home. It's great to see all of you. And hey, love, didn't you celebrate a birthday? Happy birthday.
Sue
This
Ross.
woman has she got all the photographs of everything that has ever happened in Atlanta since the beginning of time. She is 415 years old.
And don't look a day over 60.
So it's good to see y'all. I don't want to hold the time, but I also want to say that I'm so proud of this man here. It's, you know, when you're doing the work, you actually don't think, none of us are going to get out of here alive. And sometimes we don't even know when to leave the job we're doing. We squeeze it to death. But we were lucky to have Jamil Jude. And it's like, it happened one day and I said, shit, like, this dude, he's ready. He's a great artist. He's a great presence in the community. He's a national artistic treasure, and I was so glad to get out of his way. And there's enough room for me to do the stuff on the planet, and there's enough room for him to do the stuff on the planet. But he stepped into it, and I can't tell you, man, how you just make me so proud. And you make me smile, and every time someone mentions you, they say, Kenny Leon, you got these branches. I said, branches? Yeah, Jamil Jude is a Kenny Leon branch. And Camilla Forbes is a Kenny Leon branch. And then you don't start thinking about it until you're at a Broadway show and you see Jaquina Calacango, who was the winner of the first August Wilson competition in Atlanta, who's now starring on Broadway, like killing it. And I was like, oh my God, that's a branch. So thank you for letting me be a branch on your tree. I appreciate you. I love you. And it's good to be home.
Y'all, this is what I've been looking forward to. I got on a plane back from Denver just to be here in person, just to have this conversation. Kenny, you and I haven't had a chance to sit down in a very, very long time. So, you know, I'm not even going to apologize for it. This may turn into just like a kick it session with Kenny and Jamil here for a second. But, you know, you already mentioned it, man. Welcome back to Atlanta. Glad to have you back here working. I know the city of Atlanta means so much to you, and oftentimes, even no matter where you go, on Broadway, accepting Tonys, on the West Coast doing film, you always have a lot of love and respect for Atlanta. Can you just talk to, so many people here were part of your career up until that time, but just talk about why Atlanta has meant so much to you, especially with regards to kind of helping you get your career started, especially at Clark.
Man, that's a big question. Because I have to go back. I'm a country boy from Tallahassee, Florida.
Shout out to Tallahassee, Florida. We got Tallahassee in the building. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida too, so I might get a little too proud on that one.
And when I was growing up, my grandmother had 13 children, and then my mother was pregnant at 15 with me, and then I had a sister who was 2 years behind me, and a brother 2 years behind that. My mother decided to break out on her own, so she had to leave me with my grandmother in Tallahassee, Florida, in the country. No running water, outhouse, small farm. Y'all don't know nothing about an outhouse. Going to the bathroom, clean yourself with Spanish moss. I mean, that's where I come from, and I embrace my family.
That's not my part of Tallahassee.
Yes, yeah. That's mine. That's because, but you from those roots, though. And then, so I spent the first 9 or 10 years with my grandmother, and then I went to St. Petersburg, Florida, to live with my mother and stepfather. And my mother and stepfather together made $10,000 a year. So thinking about my future was not even, I couldn't even go to college. You know what I mean? I couldn't go to college. But there was a program called Upward Bound. Upward Bound supported low-income families. And Angela Bassett and myself were in the same Upward Bound program, right? So she was in Jordan Park, and I was on 16th Street. We were very good friends, still are very good friends to this day. But every Saturday, we had to go to classes. And during the summer, we had to go to classes. And then it got time to go to college. And my mom was like, what? I said, yeah, going to college. How are you going to college? Upward Bound, we'll get some loans, financial aid. I hadn't ever been outside of Florida. I wanted to go to a black college. And I was like, I couldn't go to FAMU because my grandmother had 13 kids. They're from Tallahassee. That would not be going to college with. So I said, oh, on the map, the next state up, Georgia. Oh, okay, Atlanta. Okay. Upward Bound said, let's have a trip to Atlanta. Came to Atlanta. First day here, I met Maynard Jackson, who was the first black mayor in Atlanta. Maynard became my friend, told me, I was honored to speak at his funeral, but he and Valerie, his wife, they were just great, great people. But that opened my eyes. I said, a black mayor? And then I went on campus. I was at Clark College. It was Morehouse. It was all men, so I know I couldn't go there. There was Spelman, all women, and I was like, I saw more. You gotta understand, I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. It's like it's a white town, and nothing against my white brothers and sisters. I love you, but I had never seen that many black people and black women, smart, beautiful, from all over the world. And I was like, I want to go to Clark College to sit on the wall over here and look at those women coming from. So anyway, what was the question you asked me?
Someone had asked me, they said, how are you going to moderate this conversation? I said, I'm going to give him the ball, and then whenever he passes it back, I might shoot. Yeah, no, I was just saying, just welcome back. Talk to me about Atlanta and why Atlanta has been so important and why you don't forget it.
Thank you. So I came back to it. That's how I got to Atlanta. Skip forward. I went to Clark College, but then I started meeting people in addition to Maynard. It was like, and I was like, we call the mayor by the first name? Like, wow. And then years later, Shirley Franklin, Shirley, then Bill. And I was like, whoa. And then I met John Lewis, and he came to, John was a friend. So I was like, John, everything, there's no other place in the world. When I go to New York, I was like, hey, do you know the King family? Yeah, me and Yoki used to be, what are you talking about? Yeah, you know John Lewis? Yes. You know Reverend Lowry? Yes. It's like everything we need is containing our culture right here, which is so amazing to come at this place. This wasn't here when I was back then. But the gathering spot, this is just continuing what was started a long time ago. The gathering place for us, there's no other place in the country like this. And quickly, I'll finish this first question. I went to, 80% of the time I'm in New York. I went to see the Knicks game. So I'm going to the Knicks game. I'm like, hey, I'm going to see the Knicks. But Camille, I'm thinking like, when you go to a game in Atlanta, and you go to the VIP treatment at an Atlanta game, it's different. So I'm like, in New York, I'm like, it ain't Atlanta. There's no other place like Atlanta. The good and the bad. I was joking with the cast yesterday. I said, I need this group over here to be upper middle class. They said, what? I said, in Atlanta, we have something we call I'm from Atlanta. Yes. I go to college. It's very So we have our side, upper middle class, and we know how to do that. You know what I mean? But anyway, I answered your question. Next question.
I think you did. So Kenny, this True Colors is right now in what we're calling our Sankofa season. So over the next 3 years, we're going to explore the idea of Sankofa, which, for those of you all who are the uninitiated, right, a journey forward begins with a look back. And in season 19, the one we're currently in, we've dedicated it to looking back, looking at shows set in the 20th century to see what they can teach us about this present moment. And you all, as we go over to the course of the evening, we're lucky to have Maisha McQueen start us off. The music is also going to follow a little bit of a journey too, so keep that in mind with the Sankofa. One question I've been asking people on the True Colors podcast that you can get on Instagram at 1 p.m. One thing I've been asking people, though, in this spirit of Sankofa, if you could go back and get something, either from your past, from your family's past, and bring it to the present moment to better teach yourself or better teach the world about what's out there, what is something that you would go back and get? I know your book, Take You Wherever You Go, you talk a lot about that, but maybe an anecdote from the book or something new for our friends at the Gathering Spot and those watching at home. What's something you would go back and bring back to the 21st century?
That book can be bought on Amazon. No, that's easy. And I don't want to offend anyone. I think that I did Hairspray Live for NBC. And during that show, I had a 10-year-old, a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, and 70-year-old. Every age group has a unique gift, I believe, to offer the world. I tell my grandkids, I said, you're 3. Be 3. I said, he's 6. Let him be 6. There is nothing like those kids that you can go for a walk and they're like, Opa, there's an ant there. Okay? And you sit there and you discover that ant all over again. At the same time, they can cry one moment and the next moment they've forgotten that. I was like, wow, that's a beautiful lesson that young people give us. When you're 15, there's no one like a 15. When you're 20, everything is different. I tell my stepdaughter, I said, I'm over 60. You are smarter than I am, but I got wisdom. If you just let me impart wisdom on you, so it goes back to your question. If I had to bring something to this generation, I would bring my grandmother, because she taught me so much about her mother, who was a sharecropper, her mother before her, which was a slave, all that. It's all it's all meaningful. What I feel happening now, especially post George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, I run into some 20-year-olds, some 30-year-olds, who say, we want to burn everything down because we have all the right answers now. And I find like, don't do that. Because we need all of us. If we were to connect with the beauty I was with Harry Belafonte last week. You sit down in a room with a 95-year-old artist, activist, genius. How you gonna throw that away? So I just sit there and listen to it. I was like, no, I got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I'm shutting up, Mr. Belafonte. I had a chance to meet Sidney Poitier before he passed. You know, I'm sitting in a room with Denzel Washington on one side and Sidney Poitier on another. What you gonna do? I've sat in a room with Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis. They did A Raisin in the Sun on Broadway in 1959. You know how hard it was to bring a black drama to Broadway in 1959? It was so hard that there were other scenes written that were funnier to make it more digestible to certain audience members. The first time that play had a revival was in 2004, my first Broadway show. And what people don't know, one of the first things that I did was I contacted Lloyd Richards, who directed the 1959 version, but he did not get the opportunity to direct the film. And if you look at that film, it looks just like his staging for the play. But I met with Lloyd, and I was like, look, man, everything you guys did made it possible for me to do what I'm getting ready to do. And I just want to sit down and talk with you about the play. And we met 2 or 3 weeks every other day to talk about his experience with A Raisin in the Sun and the Raisin in the Sun I was going to get ready to do. And what he said to me, he said, Kenny, I want to be there on opening night, but I can't. I said, why, Lord? He says, that is so much of me wrapped up in that play. And I don't want those memories to go. But I am your biggest fan. I want this play to be huge. I hope you can understand. I said, I do, Dean, I understand. And he did not come to opening night, but he sent this huge, huge basket of flowers saying, break a leg, I'm with you. Ossie and Ruby, I said, hey man, I don't want to step on what y'all did. You know, Sanaa Lathan and Puffy and this group, we're doing something different. I want you guys to come to my rehearsals. They did. All during previews, Ruby and Ossie were there, giving me notes, say, oh, I don't like this. And Ruby was really tied to Benitha more than she was to the other character that she played. But people don't know these behind-the-scenes stories. Like, I honor those who have come before me. They made it possible for me to even have a Broadway show. They made it possible. So I know I stand on the shoulders of not only those people, but my grandmother's mother and mother who were slaves, who couldn't see this day when we had the gathering spot, but they're responsible for us for having the gathering spot. So to answer your question, I want to that's the gift I would say, like for all of us to understand we stand on shoulders, and especially brown and black people, we have to realize that more and more, because when we don't, that's when we get in trouble. When we forget, I would say another word somewhere, but when we forget that we're black, when we forget our lineage, how we got here, we can never do that. And sometimes I feel there's a danger of us forgetting that, forgetting how hard things were, forgetting when Maynard was the first, you know what I mean? And also to realize that we have allies now, I think. We have white folks who I think are starting to listen in a different way. And I love that. And I think we need to use that in a way that moves all of us forward.
Right.
And it's, Lord knows, there's a lot of hate in the world. There's a lot of, I do believe that social, I did this in rehearsal yesterday. I had everybody come to the table and put their cell phones on my table. And I swear, you could feel the energy in the room shift. It was like the weight of all those cell phones. It was like, I said, now, let's go and stand in the room and let's breathe together. Let's be in tune together. And then let's do the opening number of the musical. And they did. And I said, you can't tell me that shit wasn't different. You can't tell me it's not better. So I know we need to use the social media thing as a tool, but we should not let it dictate and turn us into robots. And I would suggest what I do. When I'm on the road on Saturdays, I leave my cell phone in the hotel. I just do that for one day. And it's my free day, and it feels great. So that's what I would do. Learn that we're all connected.
Well, I love the fact that you brought up Raising in the Sun because we have an amazing performer. I got to know E. Roger Mitchell thanks to you. I had an opportunity to watch you work. I was your assistant director back in D.C. back in 2010. I got a chance to see Mr. E. Roger Mitchell do his thing in Every Tongue Confess with Felicia Rashad, and he has become one of my favorite actors, but he's already been an Atlanta favorite actor right now. I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. E. Roger Mitchell doing a performance from Raisin in the Sun.
Good to see everyone. I like to get on this stage here, but I want Kenny to be able to see my face every now and again, so I don't want to turn my back to my big brother while I speak.
Y'all, just tell me where I need to put him right real quick. Is he good?
Is it
for
good?
The cameras?
I really don't even need it, actually.
Come right here. Right here, right here. For the
Right here?
cameras, for the cameras.
Copy. I need that. Not really.
You don't need a mic. You good?
I'm talking about life. You always telling me, see life like you. Man, on my back today, and I figured it out. Life just like it is. Who gets and who don't get. Mama, it's all divided up. Life is. Sure is. Between the takers and the takers. Huh? Yeah. Some of us, we always get took in. Huh? But people like really happy. You don't never get took in. And you want to know why the rest of us do? Because we all mixed up. Yeah, we mixed up bad. Now, we get to looking around for the wrong and the right. And we worry about it. And we cry about it. And we stay up nights trying to figure out why the right and the wrong all the time. And all the time, the operators, they out there operating. They just taking and taking. Willie Harris. Shit. He don't even count. He don't even count in the big scheme of things. But I will say one thing about old Willie Harris. Oh, he taught me something. Oh, he's taught me to keep my eye on what counts in this world. Thank you, Willie.
What did you call that man for, Walter Lee?
Call him. Come on over to the show. And we're going to put on a show for the man. Just what he want to see. Yeah, Mama, the man, he came over here today himself to tell us that young people, how dare would you want us to move? Well, they so upset, they willing to pay us not to move. And oh, Mama, you can proud of me, and Ruth, and Benny, we told them that man to get out. And we was some proud folks around here this afternoon. And we was full of that old time stuff. Sing it.
Good job. E. Roger Mitchell. You know, in that scene, as E. Roger plays Walter Lee Younger, the younger version of Walter Lee, he's exploring this idea of what is pride, what does it mean to show up for yourself, especially the wisdom that you talked about that you learn from other things and bad things happening. Kenny, one of the shows in keeping with our theme from classics from the stage to the screen, you mentioned Big Brother Lloyd Richards and just the amazing work that he did, but he didn't get a chance to take his stage work to the film and TV world, but you had that opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about what it felt like for you as a Black director to be given not just the gift of staging Lorraine Hansberry's classic, but ultimately bringing it back to TV when you directed the film?
That's funny. People don't know I'll just share with you guys the behind the scenes stuff. Like, Raising in the Sun was my first Broadway show. Broadway, until recently, is one of the most racist cultural places in America. But I'm not surprised at that because it's just a macrocosm
Of America.
of America. And I got some folks that I love, white, black, whatever. But I was fired. I was hired for Raising in the Sun and then fired from a Raising in the Sun before I started. Yeah. And the real reason that I had the opportunity to direct that play is because the Lorraine Hansberry estate, and at the time it was Jewel Nemiroff, they demanded that there be a Black director on that play, or else they could not bring it to Broadway. And I'll tell you, anyway. So, what was the question?
Right, just talk about, talk about
So I took that play. God, so many stories in there.
Tell all of them.
The story is, okay, you do the story, and this is the truth. To do any Broadway show, you have to have, most of the time, for a play especially, you have to have a star, or what people think is a star. The problem is the list of Black stars that are acceptable to the white producers is that long. So when you say Denzel, Sam Jackson, they run out of names. During that time, they said, we're gonna do Raising in the Sun, but we need a star. And our people, some of the Black actors, come on, Eric, Black actors said, I don't want to do that play. It's an old play. Raising in the Sun is old. That's what I keep reminding us. We got to keep bringing us. It's old. So I couldn't find anybody that would do Walter Lee. A woman called me, and I'm going blank on her name now, but she was Nicole Kidman's acting coach. Susan Batson, thank you. She was Tom Cruise's acting coach. But I think Nicole got the acting coach in a divorce settlement. But anyway, she's a great teacher, a great thespian. And she called me and she says, Kenny, I know you don't know Puffy, you don't know Sean Combs, but I know you're looking for somebody for this role, and I wish you would give him a shot. I said, Susan, at this point, anybody that will come in and audition for it, great. Because he certainly had the name. So I was in Atlanta. I was supposed to fly to New York. Something happened to my flight. Puffy goes to New York and has an audition for the producers. They're like, Kenny, it was pretty good. It was okay, but it's on you. I said, well, I'll just come. I'll come in a few days, and he'll audition for me, and we'll go from there. But Puffy said, no, I want to prepare. I want to prepare for Mr. Leon. He took 2 weeks, he prepared. I went up, he auditioned. And I said, that's not great. He said, what? I said, that's not great. And we had shared some time about his grandmother, my grandmother, his dad, my biological sperm donor, all this stuff. And we had a lot in common, except, he was wealthy and I'm not.
Bad boy.
But when I told him it wasn't great, he's like, wow. I said, but what makes it not great, you don't have technique. Technique is what, like E. Roger and Eric Little, what these guys train themselves for, like to understand how your body works together, to understand what makes you different, to understand if you lean your head like this, you look like a different person and it makes your voice sound different. If you lean your head back like this, you become another person. If you lead with the ear, you you can change who you are subtly. And the muscles, your diaphragmatic muscles, understanding that, this is where your power comes from. If you fill it up like a balloon, if you put all the air here, it'll make it sound like this. But if you're speaking from here, you're going to be talking like this and the audience can't hear you. But when you come here, so he didn't have that training, nor should he have. So he said, the producers were upset. Why did you tell him that? I said, because it was the truth. And then what that did for Diddy is that made him like, man, I trust that guy, man. That guy told me the truth. And so we got together. I said, I'm willing to go with you if you cut the bodyguards back, if you shut down the business. And people don't know this, but Diddy lost about $8-9 million doing a play that he didn't have to do. Right? So I said, you can't do this play alone, but together we could do this. I could teach you, I can disguise the things that I could, but you got to be dedicated. He says, bet. He shut down 3 businesses. He cut the bodyguards back. He never missed a rehearsal. He took his own money and built a replica of the Raisin in the Sun set and put it in his Park Avenue home so that when he got home, he could lay on that couch like a poor man. And, so his average day would come to rehearse with me for 8 hours, go to Susan Batson for 2 hours, send a car for me at like midnight, and I'm like, oh man, come on, so I had to go get a nap before he sent the car for me. Then we would go to like clubs, hang out with clubs. So I'm hanging out, getting to know each other, and it was a new world for me. And then we would go to his place. He would call a cook, hey man, we're gonna eat, whatever. But he was soaking up the knowledge. And to this day, I tell people that I had Audra McDonald in the room, who had 4 Tony Awards at that time. She now has 6. Felicia Rashad, coming from Cosby Show, had Sanaa Lathan, the great late Bill Nunn. So yeah, you had all that pedigree in the room, but there's one thing that he had that none of us had. Before I met Diddy, I thought I gave 100%. After I met him, I was like, I got another gear, which is with me now, which is why I'm able to like, let's go. I got another gear. I got another 25% more to give. And most of us, we don't use all God's gift that he's given us. We hold back. And so what Diddy was saying, hey, I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna go with my teacher. I'm gonna pick Kenny's brain in the same way that he did the marathon. He had never run a marathon. I'm gonna run a marathon. How do you do a marathon if you've never trained for a marathon? So my thing about him that I got is that all of us can do more. And what I love about Sean is that he will give you 100% of him to do anything. And most of us only give like 60%. So what I said to other actors is like, if that brother can do that, never having had an acting class, and you've been to Juilliard, you cheat me. You hold him back. So I'm always pushing actors for their own personal greatness. And if we were to go there, you would see some amazing stories being told. A lot of us, black actors too, we're not giving all we have to reach greatness, which means we're not honoring our grandparents and great-grandparents. If we're still telling the stories the same way they told them 150 years ago, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do to move us forward. So what keeps me going to know that we can do better. We can tell better stories. Young people have more creativity. I remember working with Alicia Keys. Alicia, I learned from the music industry. The music industry has a lot of great ideas, but they don't have structure. You know what I mean? It's like if they say we're going to rehearse at 8, it could be midnight. But those of us in the theater, we have structure. So if the theater world would marry with the music world, man, we could see some great stories. And you see some of it in like some of the stuff that Beyonce does or a few people. You know, it's coming, but we could do so much more. Did I answer your question?
I think you did, and then I'm gonna follow with which is all good, which is really why we do it. One thing I do want to know, 2004, 2005, when you were doing that, I single-handedly kept Sean John in business. So Diddy did not have to do too bad there when he was not working in that business. I do miss my Sean John velour jumpsuit. So Diddy, if you're watching and you're making more of them, please, I will rock that. Please let me know. Back then. Kenny, you know, one thing I want to talk about, and this question is particularly important to me for reasons that will become obvious as I say it, is I want to talk about continuing legacies, inheriting projects, inheriting big shows or the names and titles of some projects. You have a long list of that. You know, we talked about Lloyd Richards. You know, I want to also put in the room Marion McClinton, who also worked on Broadway with August Wilson before you had an opportunity to work with Mr. Wilson and staging some of his shows. Just recently, pre-pandemic, you completed a run of A Soldier's Play. And I want to talk about a little bit of that. Like, can you just talk about how you have not only upheld the legacy of some of our amazing griots and told their stories, but also carved out their own lane. And like you mentioned at the beginning, your tree is sprouting branches. I'm very thankful and lucky to be one of them, but I just want to talk a little bit about continuing legacy and why upholding legacy and creating new paths for other people has been so important to you.
Well, selfishly, that keeps you alive. It's like I can stand in the back of a theater and watch some actors that I've worked with and see them do something that we worked on together, and no one look at me, but I'm looking at the stage, and I will actually cry because I'm like, dang, he got it. He got it. It's like seeing your kid do something that you brought that kid in the world, but when they actually become you, when they finally learn something you taught them, it's nothing like it, Jamil. It's like, I know our bodies are designed to carry us about 80 to 100 years Maybe some people get a little over that, you know what I mean? But our bodies are made to go that way. So it's like what you do during that time. So I'm always, okay, so if I'm over 60 now, okay, if I get lucky, I get this. So what's gonna give me a chance? I gotta like get up every day. I gotta do something physical. I got to get on that Peloton. I got to read stuff, even stuff that I don't quite understand. I got to, and it's like Sam Jackson said to me, man, we got to keep being relevant. You can't be relevant if you don't read. You can't be relevant if you're not having a conversation with a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old. You can't be relevant if you don't know where your news is coming from. And I feel that also, the more we're connected to our past, the easier it is to proceed into our future, into our destiny, because you don't have to do it all over again. It's like there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, there's some new inventions and stuff like that, but it's not new. You know, it's just like no disease is new. Somebody else got that. You know? So, I just think that selfishly, if we look at life as evolving, if we keep evolving, I think we're going to please God. And I think sometimes I feel we're in the danger of not evolving. We just get stuck or we repeat something. It's like, why, after everything we've done for the last 100 years, why would you want to start over? So, that's all.
We want to focus a little bit more on just some of your amazing film and TV work. Can you take us to that first time being on a TV or film set, you know, coming from the world of theater? And I know you've done it on the other side of the camera and on the other side of the stage as an actor, but talk to us, hey, I got the big chair in what is it called, studio row, you see, I mean TV row, whatever. I'm not there yet, but where all the monitors are. Talk to us about that experience, and what do you think you've learned from the first time you sat on set on a TV film project and to now, where you
I think the lesson I've learned is that everything that you need to know, you already have. It's just stepping into your confidence. It's like when I had the job at the Alliance Theater, and I was like what? It was Lloyd Richards and it was me. So you got one black person running a major regional theater. I didn't know what the hell I was doing other than I knew how to direct plays. I knew how to talk to community. So I just laid into that while I spent my free time learning about the administrative side. You know, so it's and when I walked on set, you step into what you already know. My stage shows are very cinematic. I'm trying to control where 1,200 people are looking. If I get them to look where I want them to look, then I got a chance of getting them to feel what I want them to feel. If I stand in the back of the theater watching one of my shows, watching somebody else's show, and you see like one guy's looking this way, somebody looking that way, the husband is asleep, that's not, I do what you call controlled focus. When I stand in the back of a show I've worked on, the head should do that way, and the heads go that way, and the heads, and you have tricks to make people do that. Like, what's the strongest position on stage is what?
Back time.
Upstage center. Upstage center is far away from you in the center of the stage. All right? No matter what I do, if a person is in the center of the stage, you're going to look there, right? If I turn that person around and you look at their back, that's even stronger. If a person is standing here with their back turned and a person is facing you, you will look at the person with their back turned. Right? So I'm controlling where you look. You don't think about it, but I work in a series of triangles because triangles keep you awake. Lines put you to sleep. So if I put actors in a straight line and you read left to right, you're like, Honey, and especially if your husband don't want to be there, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. So I have to break that up. Put that triangle there, put that person there, keep them moving around. So I have used that when I go on a set, when I do Steel Magnolias or Mahalia Jackson or Hairspray Live.
Watson's Go to Birmingham.
Watson Go to Birmingham. It's the same thing, except the camera is your triangle. So it's easier. It's like, oh, when I did a Raising in the Sun play, I said, I want everybody to look at Felicia Rashad's eyes. So I sat Felicia down, had Bill Nunn stand there, Sanaa stand there, turn to face her, look at her. Walter Lee comes in, gets on his knees. So you got 3 people looking at her. You can't look anywhere but at her. When I go to the TV, because the Raising was my first TV thing, because they had to hire me for the TV because me and Puffy were like this, and ABC we had more audience members that year on Broadway than ever in the history of Broadway, because young folks came to see a Raisin in the Sun who had never been to a play before. And then you transfer that to the TV, they say, oh, we want Diddy because we know people look at him, even though he wasn't the best actor in that group, but we were so tired. He was like, he couldn't do that by himself. You got to take me. So it's my first film. I take the whole company there, but I got crazy confidence. And so I just said, we got to tell a story. And what I've learned on set is don't have the answers, have the questions. So you're like, hey man, how can I get everybody to look at Felicia Rashad's eyes? Oh, I can just put that on a dolly, and then I can like put it at a 45-degree angle. Oh, really? Okay, well do that, man, do that, you know. And then I know I'm good with people, so I can go to Diddy and say, hey man, we got this thing going, man. Joe, don't forget your relationship with your sister, man. Hey Felicia, I can talk relationship. That's what I'm good at. There are people who've gone to school to be good at that other shit. There's so many directors on film sets, they know how to set up a shot, but they don't know how to talk to actors. They don't know how to talk to designers. They don't know how to get everybody, they don't know how to tell one story. They don't know how to, sometimes they're afraid of some actors. They don't know how to talk to the stars. It's like, you know, you didn't ask me that, but I'll tell you that.
Yeah, leave it
it's
to
like,
acting coach.
I treat Denzel and Viola, I treat them differently, but I treat them the same. I honor the first lesson in directing 101 is to know who you have in the room. If you're directing something and you don't know if you got a genius in the room, let the genius speak. If you got somebody like Denzel in the room who's done 500 movies, use that. But a director has to be able to teach the actors who are green and able to inspire the actors who are really good. And then get all of them in the same story. How do you do Hairspray Live with The Wiz, with Mary J., Queen Latifah, Neo.
I got you. I'm here. This is why I'm here.
But Neo. But the thing is, you have to get everybody on the same page to sell the same story. So you have to, how does she process information? What's gonna make him come to truth? What's gonna stop her from overacting? You know, so you do what you know you do and ask the questions of the other people around you. Don't take that pressure in the room. You ain't got to have that pressure. It's like, that's what, I remember I did private practice. And it was Lex DuPont was the DP. And I said, hey man, when I come back to this show, I'm gonna know all the lens sizes. I'm gonna know the name for this. He said, Kenny, do me a favor. Don't. And that was the best advice ever. Dig into what you know and what you are good at. Everybody's not given the same gifts. So know what you're good at and walk in the room like you know you're good at that. My mom said you either have to be, in my business, you have to be a snake or a snake charmer. And I'm not a snake. So it's about charming. It's about leadership. Another last story I'd say about this, when I'm on a film set, I always wear a Stetson hat. I don't do that when I do plays. That started with A Raisin in the Sun. I was supposed to go, we were supposed to start shooting, and they said, Diddy won't come out, Sean won't come out of his dressing room. What? I go to his dressing room and say, what's up, man? No, man, that hat you had on yesterday. It's a lot of things I know and a lot of things I don't know. What I do know, I know style and I know marketing. I'm not coming out here until you put that hat on. So I thought he was crazy, right? I said, okay, shit, go get the hat. Go get the hat, I put it on, and I've never taken it off in all those years, since 2004, on a set. What it does is, they're so, at that time, and it's still true now, except for my great friend Ava DuVernay, but there are not a lot of us. And the last thing, even some of us, the last thing we assume is that the black guy is in charge. Put that hat on, you walk on set, they're like, who's that? Oh, where's the director? Or the guy with the hat on. And something about that hat says leadership. Something about that says confidence. Something about that says he's the boss. And it works. Usually people come, who? They're looking for it. Now they like, he must be somebody. And Diddy was right. So to this day, I give him credit for me wearing that hat.
You all, we do want to open it up. Like I said, I was nervous that it might just turn into a kick it session. I love actually listening to you, and I think about just even in my own work, again, you talk about branches, the behind the turning around on center stage. I just think about all those things that you've taught me. So I'm just happy that we are letting more people into it. On a newsletter that we just put out for True Colors, I mentioned in advance of this that we wanted to make sure that people get their flowers while they still have an opportunity to celebrate them. And we just recently lost Dr. Doris Derby, that I want to give a big shout out to, just because she was amazing to me and helped me better understand what activism looks like through your art. And I just in listening to this, I'm so thankful that we took the time, Kenny, to have you speak and talk to so many of us. And here's an opportunity now as we transition for you all here in our audience here to ask questions. And for those of you all in our virtual audience, please go ahead and put your comments in on YouTube, get those questions, and we'll be sure to feed them into the room. But
this is on YouTube?
This is on
I thought
YouTube.
we just had a private room of people, man.
Well, we got to sneak in a couple of cameras, got to let people know True Colors is a national organization. We are based in Atlanta, but we are a national theater company, and we're very, very proud of that. So, y'all, here's an opportunity. Ask a question to Kenny. Please raise your hand, and we will have some microphones. It's a question, not a statement, a question. We got the first person, Ms. Maisha McQueen.
Good evening. What makes you say yes, Kenny, to projects? I'm sure lots of things come in your direction, and like you said, there are very few of you, so I'm sure that all the black stuff comes your way, or all the whatever comes your way, or stuff that came from theater, whatever. But at this stage, where you've done so much on stage and film, is there a certain criteria? Is it something that just hits your soul? What makes you say yes to taking on a project?
And I have some mail for you, because people are still sending things to True Colors looking for you, so I have some mail for you before you leave.
Sorry. Wow. You know what? It hasn't been that way for very long. I know from outside of it, you say, oh, he's really... It's been hard, and it's like I'm from Atlanta. The South is home of Tennessee Williams. I remember they had like 5 or 6 Broadway plays in one season by Tennessee Williams. I don't get a call for that. And it's like, oh, you didn't know that I teach Tennessee Williams. It's like I taught his poetry at Cornell. I did, you know what I mean? I just want a conversation. Yes, I have a Tony Award. Usually, Tony Awards equal money. Sometimes they won't put a show together like, oh, I don't want that designer. Do they have a Tony Award? No. I don't want that director. Does he have a Tony Award? I am blessed. I get a crazy amount of work now. But there was a time when they're like, my colleagues, they got a Tony Award and their phone never stops ringing. I get a Tony Award, it's like, oh, you can come in the room. But I'm not complaining because it's changing, but it's been harder than you think. But to fully answer your question, I would say, what's the name of that book? The Beautiful Power of No. I live by that. And to be at a place in my career now where I can say no, that helps you create the room for the yes. You know what I mean? So it's like saying yes just because you're offered and just because, oh, this pays $5 million. I think you got to look at that $5 million closely. And $5 million, I mean, what it brings. But so for me, right now, the money has to be right, but the subject has to be right. For me, it has to have impact on the world. So if I were to tell you what I'm doing now, you can judge. So I'm doing Trading Places, and that's going to Broadway. But the reason I did Trading Places, when I was asked to do it, if you look at the Trading Places film, it don't really quite work today because there's some homophobic things, there's some racist things, some sexist things, but it's funny as shit, right? I said, I don't want to do Trading Places unless I could have the actors trade places, the characters trade places. So I want a black woman to play the Eddie Murphy role. I want a gay white man to play the Jamie Lee Curtis role. Metaphorically, I wanted to represent, if we could just trade places with each other, especially with with our young folks and they're evolving. Now, I think we can learn a lot just trading places with people for 5 minutes. So now that musical has become that. So it won't be like, oh, trying to recreate the movie. It'll be like it's a brand new play, and it's funny, it's songs, it's loving. The opening scene in Trading Places is Mortimer and Randolph around the little table, two old white guys, and they're keeping everybody else away from the table. Get away. And the last image in the play is a table that keeps growing and growing and growing and growing with a black woman as president, inviting everybody to come around the table. And so it's like that, metaphorically, that's what it's about, So I'm doing that. For Broadway, I'm doing Susan Laurie Parks, Ohio State, Top Dog, Underdog. So this is the first one of Susan Laurie plays that I feel a personal connection to. And it's two African-American men and navigating through America, and one is going to work dressed up like Abraham Lincoln, a fable about Lincoln and Booth. So you know what's going to happen at the end of that. But to get the opportunity to do that on Broadway, that's huge. The next thing I'm doing is Ohio State Murders by Adrian Kennedy. Adrian is 91 years old. Written over 100 things. Since she was 15, she's always wanted to go to Broadway. Never made it. I'm trying to get there in the fall with this. And Audra McDonald is going to play the lead role in this play. So, I do it on the impact of what the play says to America, but also it's combined with a 91-year-old genius of a woman, you know what I mean? Or Susie Laurie, who's been writing all her life, and it's 20 years since that play was done. So it's the people involved, the impact on the world, um, you know, yeah. So you're welcome.
There was another question back there.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ashley. I'm a writer, and I really appreciate when you said that everything, something along the lines of like everything you need to learn or that you already have within you. What was that moment where you learned to look inside at your own intuition as opposed to relying on the advice or guidance of others to create art?
I think it's still ongoing. You know what I mean? I didn't know that early on. Like when I did Raised in the Sun and they said, okay, do this film. I'm not gonna say no. But I found out once I started leaning into what I did know, I was like, oh shit, I know this. I can do this. And then the best answer I can tell you, because I want to mean something. When the pandemic happened, I had a play on Broadway, a soldier's play. We had with Blair Underwood and David Allen Greer. We had like 2 or 3 more performances. So we were lucky. We got most of the run in. And then I had to come home to Atlanta. But like I said, I'm not here a lot. But now I'm in Atlanta. I'm actually, as a human, I was kind of afraid. I was like, what does this mean? Are we ever gonna get back in the theater again? Because live theater is the antithesis of COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like people together, singing, screaming. I mean, that's what we do. And I kept thinking like, maybe during this time, we'll learn how beautiful theater is. You know? So I came home and I would get up and I pray every day. But I pray like these long prayers. Like the type of prayers like when I'm in church, I'm telling people like, why don't she sit down? Like, come on. Like, I thank God know all that, you know. But so I'm like going on with those kind of long prayers and saying everything in my heart and asking for forgiveness. And then I learned how to meditate in 20. I was like, I didn't know what meditating was. So I sit on my back porch. I was like, got down to listen to my heartbeat. And I was able to like shut the noise out and like make everything smaller. And it went from trees to I could see the butterfly on the leaf. And then it went from like hearing a train in my backyard that used to annoy me. Now I'm like, that's just a part of it. That's sound is your friend, right? So I'm doing that. And then I started reading all the stuff I hadn't read before. I love James Baldwin. So I'm like, I'm deep into Baldwin, right? And then I had this Peloton bike, so I get on, so I'm doing that. So I was like, mind, spirit, body. And then at the time, I listened to Mahalia Jackson because my mother was a gospel singer. So I'm waking up, listening to that. So routine, every day, 7 weeks. 7 weeks later, I get a call from Robin Roberts from Good Morning America offering me the Mahalia Jackson film. I'm like, come on now. You know what I'm saying? I said, I hadn't listened to Mahalia in years, and I'm like doing it. So it was like the universe. So when I see things from the universe, I don't forget it. Because what'll happen is when you see things happen to you that you know are spiritual, later on, if you had some weed or you had a drink or it's been too much time in between, you will forget the power of that spiritual thing that you saw. So as you get older, you're like, oh, that didn't really happen. So I started writing down things when they happened. Like, that happened. That happened. And if you see God, God's gonna know, like, you should know better, because I came to you in 1972 when you was coming from Florida, and you don't know how that car got from St. Pete to Valdosta, but I was in there with you. I mean, so if you remind yourself of those moments, you can say, because if not, they'll go away. So when those things happen to me, I acknowledge them and write them down. So now I am more confident. When I walk in a room now, I don't care the race of the actor. I walk in, I know how to tell a story. I know what I'm doing, and I'm not fearful of getting fired. So, did I answer your question? Okay, thanks.
We have
a question from online. Go ahead.
That's right. This is from one of our online viewers. She says, Mr. Leon, how did you balance the start and flow of your nonprofit while building your theater career?
So talk to us, take us back to 2001, 2002, you and Jane Bishop starting to decide, hey, is True Colors going to be a thing? Talk to us about deciding to start True Colors, and also you just mentioned, you gave us a timeline. True Colors starts in 2002. August Wilson comes and helps inaugurate the theater with a production of Fences. By 2004, you are directing on Broadway. How were you balancing those two things?
Wow. You getting in my closet now. The truth, when I was at the Woodruff Art Center, truth is, I voluntarily left the Woodruff Art Center because I felt like what God had intended for me to do there was done. I also have learned that every 7 to 8 years, a person should start to re-energize themselves, do something new in your job, or leave the job. So every time that's happened. So when I left the Alliance, I was not going to start another theater. Why would I leave a $15 million theater to start, But Chris Manos challenged me. Chris Manos ran Theater of the Stars. He says, we need a national black theater. You should. I said, no. Then another guy in D.C., Riley Temple, a black guy. You should start a black. I said, I'm not trying to do that. I'm getting ready to go to New York, I think, and I'm tired of raising money. I want to do this. But I said, if I were going to start a theater, this is how it would look. So a friend of mine, Pedro Harris, y'all know Pedro? Pedro said, man, if you were starting a theater, because you're so much about diversity, it should be called like Kenny Leon, the Truest Colors. I said, nah. So as this exercise, I'm writing down all these names of, if I started a theater company, these would be the names. I would say 200 names. One was called Lion's Paw. Because my name, Leon, Lion, I don't know, but.
I get it. I'm glad you chose something else.
Lion's Paw. So anyway, the short story, I had all these names down, including Kenny Leon, the Truest Colors or whatever. And then Jane Bishop, who is our managing director and co-founder, Jane said, well, everything's in a name, so we got to start there. So I was like, writing down these names, and I'm reading this book, and I'm actually in the toilet. So I'm in the bathroom. I got a book. I got this paper. I got these 200 names, and the book says, what do you promise the audience? And I'm like, I said, well, I'm talking to myself. I promised the audience to be in pursuit of truth and clarity. Think about that. It said truth and clarity. I look on the side, Truest Colors, truth and clarity. That's the same damn thing. So I said, Jane, what about, because I didn't want my name to be a part. I said, what about True Colors? Because it's truth and clarity. She says, that's it. Later on, when people couldn't figure out where I was, is Kenny Leon still in Atlanta or is he in New York? So in order to raise more money on my name, we said, we need to put his name on there. So that's when, it was like 3 years later, I was like, now put Kenny Leon there, and it's True Colors. They'll know where I am, and they'll know the name of our company. So that's how it became Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company. And I've always been, when I was at the Alliance, they said, oh, you're a young black director. So since I'm young, I think I should be able to go away twice a year or once a year for educational purposes at other theater companies. And they were like, yeah, that was the greatest gift for me. So every year I went away to Seattle or LA or Baltimore. So when I left the Alliance, people in the country knew who I was. And that's the short story.
That's good stuff. Thank you. There's we have one more time for one more question in the room. Looks like we got Yo Noop.
Yo. Hello, everybody. My name is Vincent Pendarvis. First, I just want to say I'm a huge fan of Kenny Leon, Jamil Jude. It's good to see both of you on the stage together. It's an amazing sight. My question is, what do you believe is the future of theater? A lot of people in my generation and millennials, period, they kind of don't really see the point of theater. It's more of a digital thing. We want to see things on TV, on our phones. So what do you believe the future of theater is, and can it be fixed? And is there a solution?
I don't think it's broke. I think storytelling is alive and well. I would encourage. All my life, I had to tell my own agents. I was with William Morris, now with CAA, but I always tell them no, because your film people will want you to live on the West Coast, and your theater people want you to live on the East Coast. I kept saying I'm a storyteller. So number one, keep demanding you're a storyteller. And because I stuck with that, I'm able to, the writers go on strike over here. I'm doing this. I've worked harder since COVID than I have before COVID. I had 5 TV things last year. But lastly, I would say storytelling is not going anywhere. Just like I did American Son, you can tell a story on stage and then also tell it for Netflix. You know what I mean? There are ways you can make more money and mix it all up. But lastly, I would say human connection, being in the same room with people, sharing stories, that ain't going nowhere. You go to New York now, even though it's like, say, the show I hated. I didn't like Music Man, but it was like fucking 2,000 people in there. You know what I'm saying? MJ, 1,500 people every night. You got to give people a reason to go. You got to keep finding ways to market it better. I think a lot of people don't know how beautiful and wonderful live theater is. I think in some ways we got to get around the economic question, but I don't really think that's the biggest question, because those same people will buy their kids $200 tennis shoes that they're going to outgrow next week. So it's a little bit of economics. It's a little bit of us telling people about the importance of what we do. But theater is alive and well all over our country. We just need opportunities for the storytellers.
One of the reasons why we still believe in the importance of telling stories is just like you mentioned, Kenny, having so many people gather, especially at our home in the Southwest Arts Center, where we've been for several years, but True Colors is entering into its 20th anniversary season. We're really excited to be doing that. Yes. This fall will be our 20th anniversary, and it's going to be an amazing season. We're calling it Reclaiming Hours, where we're really looking at remixes on Black Theater Classics.
20 years?
20 years. You started 20 years ago, brother. 20 years ago. And I've been here for 5, so I'm looking at the clock like, dang, this is crazy. How did we get here this fast? But one of those amazing shows that we'll be presenting, we talked a little bit about honoring the classics, and one of the live musicals you did was The Wiz. And as part of True Colors' legacy, True Colors has had some amazing productions of The Wiz, starting from kids. And we've had some kids go on to be some amazing adults, like Chloe and Halle Bailey. Their photos in their Wiz headshots are in my office, right? They were in The Wiz, Victor Jackson, amongst others. I want to welcome to the stage India Tyree, who is a dynamic storyteller here in Atlanta. She's going to bring us some music from The Wiz to get us all excited for True Colors 20th anniversary, our summer 2023 production. India Tyree, come bring us home. That's a little tall.
Okay. of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home, I wish I was back there with the things that I'm knowing. Wind that makes the tall grass bend into leaning. Suddenly the raindrops that fall have meaning. Sprinkling the seed makes it all clean. Maybe there's a chance for me to go back now that I have some direction. It sure would be nice to be back home where there's love and affection. And just maybe I can convince time to slow up, giving me enough time in my life to grow up. Time, be my friend. Let me start again. Suddenly my world's gone and changed its face, but I know where I'm going. I have had my mind spun around in space, and I've watched it growing. Oh, if you're listening, God, please don't make it hard for us to know if we should believe what we see. Tell us, should we walk away, or should we stay, or is it just better to let things be? Living here in this brand new world might be a fantasy, but it's taught me to love, and it's real, real, real to me. And I've learned that we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love, like yours, like mine, like
One more time for India Tyree. Such a fitting song. Not only is it helping us welcome our 20th anniversary, but Kenny, welcome back home to Atlanta. We're very happy to have you. Thank you for joining me in this conversation, brother. I really appreciate you. It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. I do want to say big shout out to our friends here at the Gathering Spot. They have provided us with some gifts, Kenny, so make sure that you get your gift here and just say thank you to the Gathering Spot. We're going to do a little bit of a closing remarks here thing right now, but again, just one more time for Kenny. Thank you so very much, brother. I'm gonna take Kenny's note and stand center stage with my back turned, see if I can get some good. That's how you, that's called learning, right? No, y'all, I just wanna, before we go, I wanna thank a couple of people. First, wanna give a big shout out to everyone who sponsors our community conversation. Big shout out to our lawyer friends. Y'all can have a seat. I promise I'll be done. We can get back to those Tony Teenies in a second. But big shout out to Brian Cave, Layton Paisner, our amazing sponsors for our community conversation. They've been sponsoring our work all season long, so thank you for your additional sponsorship here. A big shout out as well to the Gathering Spot. Thank you for this beautiful venue, y'all. Yes. We know that it is a private membership organization, and they have done some really, really great things So big shout out to them. And also shout out to our friends at the Alliance Theater and the Woodruff Arts Center. Thank you for coming in with us on that. You know, this brother who works at True Colors does not get enough love, but this evening is brought to you by the amazing work of our connectivity director, Mr. Brandel Jones. So Brandel, just a big shout out to you. Brandel is the guy. Y'all, we have had some amazing performances. You all heard from Maisha McQueen, E. Roger Mitchell, and India Tyree. Give them a big love. And playing softly on the keys to make sure that you all in the medley in the beginning. But Mr. Holt, thank you so very much, Holt, for doing this. Thank you so very much, Marsha. Thank you so very much for our ASL interpretation. These are so many people that put the things together. I wouldn't be doing my job as artistic director of True Colors Theater Company if I didn't tell you that our Sankofa season is not done yet. We still have one more show. So come back, come to the Southwest Arts Center, starting in June, mid-June, and goes until July. Our show, Fanny, the life and music of Fannie Lou Hamer, is going to be at the Southwest Arts Center. Kenny talked a little bit about, incorporating your artistry and your activism. Fanny, written by the amazing Cheryl L. West, does exactly that. In this time when we got to remember that we are still fighting for voting rights, y'all. We are still trying to make sure that people know that you can go register to vote. Today is the last day to register to vote for the May primary. So if you haven't, not too late, go register to vote and come back in June to be reminded why we got to fight and why people like Fannie Lou Hamer were so vital to us having this opportunity, and that we have consistently had some black mayors in Atlanta. Big shout out to all of our black mayors, especially the current Noop residing at City Hall. Y'all, not only do we have this, we have one more community conversation that I want to make sure that you all know about, and that's called My Vote Matters, and that'll be here. You can find us on YouTube, the same YouTube channel, on the 19th of May. We're going to have from Miss Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter will be one of our panelists on that event. We'll also be joined by City Council President Doug Shipman for that event as well. So True Colors, we strive at the intersection of artistic excellence and civic engagement, and nothing embodies that by our work that we're going to close out this season with Fanny, with this conversation on the 19th. So come back, check us out. And before I go, True Colors is a nonprofit organization. We love being here at this for-profit entity, the Gathering Spot. But just as like y'all was, tipping in the tip jar, I can connect you to some amazing people here at True Colors that can help you get your name in the book, like Mr. Barry Hunley and Alex and Chandra Stevens Albright. So don't leave without coming see me. I know who you are. I looked at all y'all faces at the beginning. You thought it was just a way for me to say happy no COVID right now, but that was me saying, I know what you look like. Come support True Colors. Y'all, I'm getting out of here, but thank you so very much. Y'all have been an amazing audience. Thank you very much for supporting True Colors Theater.